Good afternoon. Welcome to today's CI Tools webinar. My name is Josh Osborne and I'm the product manager for the CI Tools here at Central Innovation. And this is a weekly webinar where we go over things to do with the CI Tools. Excuse me, suffering a little bit from hay fever this week, so apologies for my voice. If you have been attending these over the last few weeks, you may know we've been looking at the doors and windows tool. We're going to be continuing with that today. It will probably be the last one, though. First week we looked at windows, second week we looked at doors, last week we looked at schedules and schedule notes, and this week we are going to be looking at styles. So that is the system that lets you create preset styles for your windows and doors, so that you can essentially set up a catalog of windows and doors inside the tool, and then you don't have to set things up manually ever again after doing that. So we're going to look at how you can use those, how you can make your own, and that sort of thing. If you've got any questions about anything that we cover today, please just enter those in the chat panel. I'll check on those before we finish up today and answer anything I can while we are live still. If you have any questions that you think of later and that you want to ask, or if they're just not related to what we're looking at today, but they are things that you'd like to see covered in future webinars, please email those through to us on nz.support@centralinnovation.com. That will make its way through to me eventually if you have any suggestions or queries or anything to go there. Finally, we are going to be working in ArchiCAD 28 today, but all of the stuff that we're going to be looking at is available in prior versions, up to around 3 versions or so back. Pretty much everything we're looking at today will be the same or very similar. So you should be able to follow along regardless of what version you're on, so long as it's something that came out in the last 4-ish years. All right, with that out of the way, let's jump into the Doors and Windows tool. Actually, I'm just going to quickly check and see if we have any comments saying that anything's not working first. Nope, looks good. All right, so the styles, we have had a look at the styles once or twice during the webinar. You will have seen them on screen at 1 or 2 points, but we've kind of ignored them for now because I wanted to come back and cover them properly in their own session. So actually, let's go back to 3D and we'll have a look at this window down at the end here. So the way that styles work, as I said, they allow you to set up a preset setup for your windows and doors, so that you effectively can set up whether it be 1 or 100 different preset windows and doors, and then you'll never have to mess around with changing the settings manually again. There's many reasons you might want to do this. Maybe you just have one particular manufacturer that you use all the time for your windows and doors, and you know that you're always going to want to choose something from their range, or in most cases you are. So you want to preset those up so that you can create all of them using the settings that you want one time, and then from then on use the same thing over and over. Styles would be perfect for doing that. Perhaps you're a BIM manager at a large firm and you have multiple different manufacturers that you deal with, but you have specific models that you use quite often, and you want to make sure that everyone in your team has easy access to use all of those models, and also to know that when you say put in door X, it will be the door that you are thinking of, and it's not going to rely on them having found the same brochure that you had or something like that, and setting things up correctly. So it gives you control to be able to set how the windows and doors styles will work for all of those people. So this would be great for you as well. And there's plenty of in the middle there cases as well. Maybe you don't want to set up full styles. Maybe you just want to set up styles for the set out or for the frame or something like that. We can do that as well, as we'll see as we go through. The other thing that you might be thinking to yourself about what I've just said is, why not just use favorites? And of course you could use favorites for that. There are several reasons why styles are more flexible in a couple of ways, which we'll cover as we go through as well. But yes, by all means, favorites could work for doing that as well. We just allow extra control over how things work and extra flexibility over what you can use them for with the styles. So selecting this window here, we're going to jump into the settings, and first of all we're going to find the styles, and the styles are found under the configuration page here. So you will see that we have configuration up the top. We've got some couple of blank fields here. You can see it says custom size here, and most of the other things are just empty, and that's because we're not using a style at the moment. And before I get into styles, one of the other things that's important to note is that if you don't want to use styles, you don't have to. You don't even need to know what they are. You could leave the webinar right now because you never want to learn about styles and you would never have to touch them. We don't force you to use styles. They are an optional thing which you can use if you want to. But if you don't want to, you can just work with the tool exactly as you always have been. So if you're concerned at all about any of this, or maybe you see it and you think it's very complex or it just won't work for you, you don't need to worry. You're not going to get forced into using it or anything like that. These are always going to allow you to still just make whatever you want. For those of you who are interested though, styles are accessed via this bar at the top here. You can see it's empty at the moment. What we're going to do is we're going to open this flyout dialog here, and we're going to see what styles we have available. So in the default library, we have quite a few Australian styles set up already. So I'm going to go through and choose one of those. So I'll choose one of these manufacturers. We'll get the casement window and we'll choose double casement option here. And you'll see that as soon as I do that, quite a lot of my fields are now grayed out. And as you may know, if you've used any of the other tools before, we have styles available in several other tools as well. This essentially is telling us that we are in a locked state because we are working with a style. The idea here being that once you choose a style, you can't modify it further, because then what's the point of the style in the first place? You can edit the style if you want to. So we can make changes to a style, which we'll cover soon. But the idea with the styles is that they are a preset bunch of settings for the window and or door, and they are locked once you select one, so that you know that whenever you choose this style here, 000XX double casement window over 2 fixed low lights, when that is selected, you will always be using the settings that you put into that style. You can't modify them or anything like that. If you do want to modify them, you can do that, of course, but you won't be using the style anymore. That's the trick to it, is that as soon as we press custom to customize this, it's no longer using the style, so we're no longer locked into what we can do. I can press custom here, everything will ungray, and we can go ahead and do whatever we would like to, just as normal. But when we are using a style, we are locked to using that style. And as I said, this is useful for cases where maybe you're a BIM manager, maybe you're just by yourself and you don't want to have to remember to not click on things or something. But the idea here is basically to say, when I choose this style, it will always be this thing, unless I want to modify the style, in which case I will do that, and that's a separate workflow. But when you do that, you are just relocking it to different settings. But styles will always be locked when you are set to use that style. If you have gotten yourself into a style and as I mentioned before, you maybe don't want to use the style at all anyway, if you find that you've got a bunch of fields grayed out and you don't want to be, just go up here and hit the custom button at any time, and it will just turn off the style basically, and it'll go back to the default settings. However, we are going to be using a style. So here's what we've got. So you will see that it has changed some of the fields in here, and that is because of these being set in the style. So the manufacturer is set, the range is set, and the description is set here for us. And you can see over on the left, we also set the format for the code. So the code can be scheduled. You may have noticed that on the interface when I was creating a schedule last week. The code can be scheduled, it can be placed into your marker and that sort of thing. And this is set up using the settings below it to match how the catalog IDing for the window or door that you're choosing works. So if I were to choose a different style, for instance, if I go to a different manufacturer and choose this style, you will see that the format for the code is different. That's just because they give their windows and doors a different ID format, and that's preset into the style as well. So we just don't have to mess with that. And these will be filled in. So you can see this is showing a certain format. And once we enter sizes for this, we'll fill in the blanks with the sizes as well, if that's included in the style that we choose. And oh dear, I've crashed ArchiCAD. Let me just start ArchiCAD back up again. Not quite sure how I did that. I actually have had this happen before when I use the streaming software, so I think it's a conflict of some sort. But while that's starting up again, what we're going to do is we are going to select the style, and we will have a look at what is defined in the style so that you can see what we can control. And then we'll look at the sizing options as well. So we have a thing called snap sizings, which lets us set up an array of sizes. So we can have a specific model of window or door and then a preset list of sizes for that. And as soon as we choose one of those sizes, it will, as I said before, we'll sort of fill in the blanks on the code that it gives to the window or door that we create. So selecting this window again, we'll go into the settings. We'll choose one of the styles. Let's go with the same one as before, this one here. So you can see it's filled in those fields for us. And if I change my view here, you can also see that it has changed the setup of the window. It's not what it was back there. And we can also choose a sizing for it. So we'll say we're going to go with the 21 range, and we'll go with 21 by 12. Select that, and it does what we've told it to do. So this is preset in the style for this window type we have. As you saw in the name, OOXX double casement over 2 fixed. So we've got double casement at the top and 2 fixed below. One of them is a panel, it looks like, and the other one is glazed. Excuse me. So it makes it nice and easy to go through. And now that we have the model selected, we can choose any other size that we want. Let's go with 18 by 9, and you'll see that it just moves the it modifies the sizing to what we told it to do, but it still retains the overall set out and shape and all the other settings that we told it to have in there. So it makes it nice and flexible. And this is what I was referring to before as one of the advantages over favorites. If you wanted to store these 6 different sizes of this particular model, you would have to store 6 different favorites. Whereas this one, we have a single style which controls the set out, and then we have the sizings stored as well. That may make it that you can just sort of match up between the two to make the window that you want. And again, everything is grayed out here. And if I go through and click on one of the sub menus, we'll see these are also grayed out as well. And again, it's because we're using a style. So they're all grayed out here because they are set by a style. But if I go back to configuration and go to custom, you will see that under frame, this is what we are set to. And again, this is all grayed out. So this is the second layer of the style. These are all grayed out again, but the top bar is not, and that's because the frame has its own style. The style that we currently have selected is called sliding, Again, as before, if you're not interested in using styles, just hit custom there, and you can do whatever you like. We can go through and choose a different frame. So we could choose this one here. The fields are still grayed out, but they have changed to match this new one. We can go custom to choose from a custom type. We could go back to a style. And if we go back up to the top level, you'll see that because we're in custom mode, this is ungrayed again. So we can go back and reselect this one here. So again, as I was mentioning before, it just allows us to be very fine-grained in how we control the parts of that. It means that for any given style that you make, you don't have to go through and set a different array of frame settings for each one. You just set up a couple of standard frame styles, in this case sliding, and you can apply those to your styles as well. And this applies with any of the other parts in here as well. So you can see we can define the shape of the head or sill or the joint adjacency or anything like that. And all of that is saved in our style there. Now, if you have a style that you have created, or you would just want to modify one of the ones that's already there, you can also do that by hitting the edit button. So if I hit edit, instead of becoming blanked out like it does if we go to custom, this will ungray everything to allow us to make changes to it. So we can go through and we can actually say, this one should be called casement 1B for some reason. Oops. Modify that a bit as well. We can change the way that the code works or anything. We could go through to frame and say that actually this should use the standard frame instead of the sliding one. Go back up to configuration and say save, and this style will relock now, so you can see that everything's grayed out again, but those changes that we added are saved in the style. So if I go back to frame, it will be standard instead of sliding, but it's still stored in the preset style. So that allows us to modify the ones that we already have, and then creating our own works similarly as well. So we could go in here, we can say custom. I want to go completely into custom mode. Let's change. Okay, so we'll change those. Let's jump into the shape and we'll set it to have an arch top, just so it's nice and easy to see when we've picked it. And we'll say that this uses a premium frame. Go back up to configuration. Actually, let's change the setup as well. So we'll change this to be louvers. They are orange for some reason, but that's okay. And this one on the left, we will change to say that it is a slider. And then on the top, we'll say that this is actually one of these. And let's say that it forms a grid of 3. Okay, so we've made the changes to our setup, we've made the changes to our frame, we've made the changes to our naming, and you can go through all of these parts here and change all of those. And now we just can save that. So we could just go in here and type in new one or whatever. Type in the name. Once you wait for a second after you finish typing, you'll see the option to say save as a style. We hit the save as a style button, and now we are relocked to my new settings now, and you will see your new style appears in the tree here. So we've got a new one down at the bottom. If we wanted to go through again and make some more changes here, so we'll modify those. Another thing that we can do is we can go Jeff two. So we separate those with double colons there. If I go save as style, you will see that that creates a folder called Jeff, and then test2 is in the level below that. So you can structure your tree. That's how these were created here, by separating them with double colons, which will give you essentially folder breaks. So you can go as deep as you need to go with those. You could say Jeff casements, single opening. You could go all the way down if you wanted to. or you could just go with a flat structure, whatever makes the most sense for you. So we can create our own styles that way, and then once they are created, we can still use the edit control to modify them to whatever we need them to be. So that controls all of the settings that you see on the page here and all of the linked pages here. So you can see these below. We could also create a new frame style as well. So if I go back and edit this, go down to frame, you can see we've got premium selected. Let's go to custom and we'll make our own frame as well. So let's just change that to 88 and 33. And then we'll create a new frame style. So we'll call this new frames style 8833. Save as a style, and you'll see that we get the same thing going on here. So we've got a new folder called new frames. We've got style 8833 here. It's relocked because we've saved it as a style. And now we go up to the top of configuration. We can save this as well. And now test 2 has the frame style 8833 applied to it. So you can apply that at any level that you need to, and then go back up to the top of the tree and save that setting that you've made as well. Now, the next thing that you'll want to do when you are working with these is define the sizings. So you can see the sizings here, and it's not been affected by anything that we've been doing, and that's because the sizing is a separate element to the actual style itself. You can see we've got a bunch of options in here, and what we're going to do is we're going to go into snap sizes and set up some sizings ourselves. So going in here, you can see we've got widths, heights, and exclusions available here. We're just going to work with widths for now because it's easiest to demonstrate in the floor plan. So at the moment, we've got a table of 3 widths available, 09, 12B, and 15B, and then the corresponding widths for those. So if we choose code 09, we will get an 850 wide unit. If we choose 12, we get 1210, and if we choose 15, we get 1450. So we could go through and we could modify those. We could say that 1210 should actually be something different. We can also add additional parts in here. I just realized that we're going to have to unlock to actually make these changes. So let's do that. That's why those were grayed out. So we can go through here. I can modify those to whatever we want those to be. We can also remove some. So we could remove 12B entirely. And now we just have 9 and 15. And then we could add in 17B, and we'll call that 1680 for some reason. And that gives us some new styles. And if we go back into configuration, you'll see that change reflected. So now the 18 high and the 21 highs both are missing 12 because we just deleted it, but we've added 17s in instead. So we can create those as we want. If you don't want to go through and make up all of the different width units yourself or the different height units, you can also automate it from over on the left here. So we could say that we want to create them at increments of 240. Let's change that to 220. We want to have 3 divisions and the offset, that's fine. And then the minimum size will be 330 and the maximum size will be 300. So we can go through and choose those and then hit generate, and that will automatically create a list of all of those for us. So you can see that we're starting off with code 1 2/3, and it goes from there. And with our increment and our offset and our divisions, that's why it's giving us thirds all the way across there. Probably not the best choice to give us a nice round number. Let's regenerate that with divisions of 2. That looks much more sensible. So now we have 1.52, 2.53, 3.5, etc. Obviously, we don't have below 1.5 because we've told it that the minimum size is 330. So it can't create the 221 that it wants to. And so we've got 340 instead. So that's half of this, which is 110, plus the bottom limit, which was 330. Sorry, the bottom of it, which is 330, plus the offset, which is 10. So we can see that there. So we can go through and auto-generate a list of those. So you can see we have 18 of them at the moment, all the way up to there. And then we could do the same with the heights as well if we wanted to. So we could say increment at 100s and go from a minimum height of 800 through to a maximum of, let's say, 1400. And we can do the same, so we'll auto-generate those. And you'll see it creates those from 800 to 1400 at every 100. So now we can go back up to configuration, save those changes that we made, and you can see that we now have a big range of size selections to go through as well. That one's obviously a little bit too short for our actual elements that we have there, so we can go 13 CX 2.5, make that change. And now if I jump into my floor plan view, one thing that you may have noticed while I was modifying the sizes is that they're called snap sizes. And the reason for that is because they will snap to the sizes that we set. So you can see at the moment, we are 560 by 1300 wide. If I resize this window out, if we resize that by an odd number, let's say distance is 714, you will see that instead of going to an odd number like that, it snaps to the nearest available width unit, which in this case is 670. We can drag it out to anything that we want, and you will see that we'll always go to the closest snap size. So if we go down from 1000 by just a small amount, you will see that all it does is shift slightly, but the size remains the same because we are locked to that snap size. So again, this just makes it so that you don't have to worry about that part. If you have a window placed and you want to make it a bit smaller, you can eyeball where you want it to go to, and then the tool will automatically snap it to the closest size that's available in your preset list there. So it just means that you don't have to look those all up again and figure out what sizes are available or anything like that. It'll only let you choose the types of size that are actually available to you because of what you've told it to do. So that makes it nice and easy as well. And we can also display that in the marker. So if I go through and choose CI Tools DW marker, do we have the code set here? Yep. So type code is turned on. So if I hit OK here, we should see it's sideways. So that's a little bit awkward, but DC13C3LR. And if we go back into here, you will see DC13C3LR, and it's 13CX3. And if I were to change the size of this, not only will it snap to the new size, but the sizing will automatically change as the code will automatically change as well. So we now have DC13C5.5, and if I go the other way and make it much narrower, it will go the other way as well. So we're C1.5 now. So again, it just makes it nice and easy so that not only is it snapping to the right thing, but when it does, it is updating the code to match the thing that you have moved it to as well. So it makes it just the whole thing sort of is a series of dominoes that once you set them up correctly, you just tap one of them and it goes through and knocks all of the others down for you, which is very nice. So that is my introduction to styles in the Doors and Windows tool. As I say, there's a bunch of them built in by default. That's what we were looking at just now, but you can create your own very easily. You could base them on the ones that are there already. You can make your own from scratch. Maybe you've got a bunch of favorites already. You could save those. You could select one of your favorites, save that as a style, and then configure some additional sort of sub styles based on that. Whatever works for you, and you can sort of build up a library of those, save them all in your ArchiCAD template, and then you don't have to worry about setting these up in future, which is very nice. Before we finish up, I'm just going to quickly check and see if there's any questions. Just bear with me a moment. All right, looks like we don't have any questions today. So that'll be us for today. Thanks for your time, everyone. If you do have any questions about styles or doors and windows, or if you have suggestions for future topics to cover in this webinar or anything like that, please email us at nz.support@centralinnovation.com and just say, hey, could you cover this in the webinar? Or, hey, I just watched the webinar about styles, but I can't figure out how this works or something. Send it through there. They'll either help you out or they'll forward it on to me and I can cover it in a future webinar. But yeah, as I say, thanks for your time and I hope to catch you at the next one. Thanks.